Hello everybody, this is Korea Complete Top 10 Teaching Red Flags. So I've actually been teaching English in South Korea for almost 10 years, and recently I've been looking on the R Teaching in Korea subreddit, and I've been seeing a lot of people posting about red flags, and I'd like to help out people because I've been here for many years and I've seen what to look out for, and I want to help out everybody. So I've compiled a list of top 10 teaching in Korea red flags. So let's get right into it. Number 10. Okay, so starting off in the 10 spot, we have a weird interview, and this person is a British person, and they're claiming that the Hogwan boss wanted them to speak in an American accent. Now, in South Korea, yes, the American accent or the Canadian accent is more preferable, but in my experience, when I've talked to British people here, I don't find that their accent is all that different, and and Korean people can understand it no problem. So I think if the boss is being very like picky like this, it's a big red flag, because as soon as you get this job, expect that you're going to have a bunch of really, really absurd requests. um, you know so yeah, just it's a big red flag, because the boss could tell you to do anything, absolutely absurd in the classroom, right? You need to dress this way, you need to do this with your hair, blah 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 blah. So in my opinion, this is a big red flag, and it's showing that the boss is just going to nitpick you like crazy. Although the boss probably isn't like a crazy person that's looking to take advantage of you, it is a big red flag, because it's going to be probably a miserable experience at this job working for this person. Number 9. So this person was looking for a job, and then in the contract it said nothing about severance. So in South Korea, after 12 months of working for a company as a full-time worker, you're entitled to a 1 month bonus or severance or pension, however you want to call it. It's basically 1 month pay at the 12 months when you finish and complete the contract. So this person said, "What about my severance?" And then they said, "Okay, we'll change around your contracts, and we'll give you a 9 month contract." And it looks clearly like they're just trying to work around paying the severance. So if you don't complete 12 months, then they won't give you the severance, and they're kind of promising they'll give you another severance or something like this. But it's very fishy, and it looks like they're trying to dodge paying the severance. So if this kind of stuff is happening, they're right off the bat, they're trying to take advantage of you, and it's a gigantic red flag, because they can do anything to you. And the dreaded 11th month firing is a real thing. People are often fired at the 11th month to avoid paying the severance, and the boss will just come up with any ridiculous reason to fire you. "We don't like your class, we don't like your face, you did this to the kids." And then in some of the most heinous cases, there's a post I read the other day, the person said that the boss would accuse them of sexually harassing a child if they did not leave at the 11th month and forfeit their severance payment. Number 8. So this person was going on Craigslist or Dave's ESL or anywhere that they post jobs in South Korea, and they're noticing that a lot of the recruiters, they're just spam posting. So you'll see that if you go on one of these websites, you'll just see that the people just keep repeatedly posting the same kind of thing over and over and over again. "We have jobs in Busan, Ulsan, Daegu, blah blah blah," like this, and the person's like asking if it's legit or not. And this is a big red flag, because you do need to be careful about what recruiter you're using. So some recruiters don't care. They'll put you into a job that they know you're going to get taken advantage of, and that is very malicious, and they don't care because they'll just get the money. So the red flag here is you need to be careful with what recruiter you use. So if you see any red flags with your recruiter, then just drop them and find somebody new. There's a lot of different recruiters, and you can choose a good one, because some of these recruiters will take advantage of you, and they don't care at the end of the day if you're happy or whatever like this at the job, or if the job is legitimate or not. They're just going to try to get you into that position. So the red flag here is more to be careful about what recruiter you use. If you get any bad feelings, or you feel like that person's being rude or not being professional, then just drop them, find somebody else. You'll be fine. Number 7. So this person's saying that they were pressured to sign a contract, and this is really a big red flag. If somebody's pressuring you to sign the contract, that means they probably really need a teacher, and that also probably means that the teacher like ran away. So that's like the real reason, right? If they're pressuring you to sign a contract, that means that they're desperate to find workers, because the workers they have, they either run away or they can't retain them, and so there's a high turnover. And this actually happened to me a long time ago when I was looking for my first job, way back in the day. I got a call from someone from Suwon, and the boss was kind of speaking to me in broken English, and he was like, oh, come now, we really need you. And then, I was just a kid at the time, and I told my mom, and she said, well, that's probably a big red flag, because they need workers, because the workers there are not happy and they're running away like this. So at the time I was just a young man, maybe in my early 20s, so I didn't understand this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm, now that I'm older, I'm trying to help out you guys to see this kind of stuff too. So yeah, definitely do not be pressured to sign a contract. If that's the case, then just find somebody else. Number 6. All right, so just reading this person's post, like I really feel for this person, if it's a boy or a girl. I don't know, for some reason I feel like it's a girl just by the way it's written, but I could be totally wrong. But anyways, when I was first looking for my first job in South Korea, I got a job opportunity too, and I was so excited, and then, I was gonna go, and I was just about to buy the plane ticket with my mom. We were just about to buy the plane ticket to get me into South Korea, and then my dad came home and he said, "What are you doing? Why are you buying this plane ticket? You haven't even got a contract or anything like this. You haven't done any of your research on the school." So I mean, my dad really saved me that day, because I was probably gonna just fly into Korea and fly into a really horrible job, and maybe they wouldn't pay me, or they'd just fire me or whatever like this. So yeah, you really need to do your research on the job you're taking. It's really, really important. You don't know what you're getting into, because in South Korea, your visa is tied to your employer. So you can't find a new job unless you get a letter of release, right? And the boss has to give you that, and they don't have to give it to you. It's optional for the boss to give you a letter of release. So your visa is tied to your boss, and you cannot change it, and the system is completely in the favor of the boss and not in your favor as a worker. So you are very, very vulnerable, and you need to understand this. The boss can do anything they want to you, and if you want to quit, then you have 14 days to leave the country, and because your visa will expire, and it's hard to get a D2 visa, which is a looking for work visa. So often, the boss can just fire you on the spot if they don't like you or whatever, or if you complain, and then you're left high and dry. You'll have to get out of the country within 14 days, and they'll probably kick you out of your housing. So you really need to make sure that the school is not going to take advantage of you, because they really can if they want to. So in this case, this is just one red flag after the other red flag after another red flag, and I know exactly how this person feels, because I was so excited too, and I wanted to go to South Korea, and I was so excited, and then my dad came home, and I was a little bit upset with him, because I thought he was kind of ruining my dream, whatever, but he was really right, and in this case, your family is right. Like, this is going to be a horrible job. They're going to take advantage of you every step of the way, and you'll probably be miserable. And when you come to South Korea, it's a very overwhelming experience. So on top of this, to have your job kind of go all wrong on you and take advantage of you, it can be a very traumatizing experience, and very harmful to your mental health. So listen to your family here. Like, they're probably right, and if you do take this job, you're probably going to be taken advantage of every step of the way, and it'll be a horrendous experience for you, and you'll probably leave a very horrible taste in your mouth about South Korea. Number 5. So this is about working at large Hogwans. So a lot of people think like, oh, if I work for a large company, I'll be safe, right? I'll get paid and things like this. And yeah, you probably will get your pay on time, and you'll get your pension and this kind of stuff. But the working conditions will probably be very difficult, right? So when I was looking for my first job, I did an interview with somebody, and they said, yeah, we'll give you the job and get like I mentioned before, get your airplane, buy your airplane ticket here. We'll reimburse you, all this kind of stuff. And at the time, most companies were actually paying for your airfare there, like up front. So that was a big red flag for me that I just kind of ignored, thinking like very naive, like, oh yeah, they'll pay me back and blah blah blah, not realizing all the kind of mistreatment that happens here. So anyways, the point is, you need to be careful about large Hogwans, because they can work you like a dog, right? They can make you work. So this person's saying 40 hours a week, and which some of the commenters said, well, that's probably 40 teaching hours a week, and that's a lot. So if 8 hours of class, you'll be exhausted every single day, and that's without preparation. Now they're paying you 2.4, so that's it's a little bit above average, but in these cases, it's really not worth it, because the pay is not bad. Like 2.4 is much higher than 2.1 or 2.2, which is like a starting salary, but you have to work so much for that, right? So you'll be working 300, just for maybe a few $100s a month you'll be working a lot of classes, right? So your work-life balance will be really tiring, and also sometimes they don't give you vacation days and stuff like this. So for me, I was about to get a job at a big Hogwan too, and I thought, oh, it was a big Hogwan, and I was about to fly out and everything. And then I just Googled it, and all these YouTube videos came up about don't work here, they're taking advantage of you, they're gonna fire you, they're not actually gonna give you the job, they're just gonna interview you on the spot and all this kind of stuff. And I was really shocked. And yeah, thankfully I didn't buy that ticket. Number four. So this is the ASAP's position red flag, and this kind of ties into the pressuring you to sign a contract. So it's kind of tied into that. So basically, this poster kind of hit it on the head. If they're desperate for teachers, then it probably is because the teachers are dissatisfied and poor organization and this kind of stuff. So yeah, if the school is saying we need teachers ASAP, that's probably because it's not run well and the teachers are either leaving or quitting or whatever like this. So it is a huge red flag. So be wary about this. So I think the original poster, OP, kind of knows what's going on here. Number three. All right, so this is a little bit complicated, so I'm going to try to explain this as simply as possible, but this is a gigantic red flag and 100% illegal. So in South Korea, there's two types of workers. There's part-time workers and there's full-time workers. So if you're coming to Korea to teach as an English teacher, you by law have to be a full-time worker, and that entitles you to that your company will pay half of your health insurance and your national pension. So when you come to South Korea, you have to pay every month your national health insurance and your national pension. This is by law. You have to pay into it. If you don't, they will come and find you, or you'll have to pay it eventually. So you can't just get exempted from this. You will have to pay it. Now, if your company is not paying it, that means you will have a much higher tax burden. So your company should be paying for 50% of your health insurance and 50% of your pension contributions. So now when you come to Korea, you'll be issued a visa through the Justice Ministry or the Immigration Office, and by law you need to be listed as a full-time worker. But the tax office, you can be listed as a part-time worker, and they don't communicate together. So it's kind of like a discoordination of the two government agencies. So what the employers will do is they'll sponsor you in as a full-time worker, and then they'll list you as a part-time worker at the tax office, and therefore your tax rate will be 3.3%. That's it. That is like a freelancer part-time tax rate, which means you'll have to pay 100% of your health insurance and pension contributions. So you'll be effectively losing a lot of money and being taken advantage. And this is 100% illegal. So if you see if you see that your taxes are 3.3, then it's you're being taken advantage of. And also, when you do come to Korea, you can call the National Health Insurance English line, and you can confirm that you are enrolled and that your company is paying into it, and as well as your pension. You need to, once you come to Korea, you should be calling the English lines for both of these and confirming that you are being enrolled and your company is paying for that. So this is very important. Number two. All right, so this person is saying that they had an interview at the school and that they were kind of late, and then they were asking them to do a demo class and kind of yada yada yada, lots of rigmarole and kind of being not really responsible and organized. And yeah, this is a huge red flag. Like if your school can't even schedule an interview properly and contact you properly like this, it means they're very unprepared. They're going to be doing everything last minute at the school. They're going to give you textbooks last minute for the classes like this. Maybe their textbooks will be very insufficient, just one page of stuff like this. Your curriculum will probably be terrible. So if a school is like this disorganized right off the bat, it's a really bad sign that you're going to get there and it's just going to be a mess, and they're going to have no curriculum, and you're going to have to be in charge of doing everything yourself, and it's probably going to be a nightmare situation. So here in Korea, sometimes some of these schools have really, really terrible curriculum, so there's almost no books, or the books are insufficient and all this kind of stuff. So it's a huge red flag that's probably going to happen. You're probably going to get into the position and you're going to see that the books and the curriculum are terrible, and then you'll get blamed for why isn't the curriculum good like this. Even though you're a teacher and you're not responsible for making the curriculum, you might be held responsible for that and the shortcomings of the school. So if the school is acting like this, then it's probably a really huge red flag that you should just find another place. Alright, number one, finally, number one. Are you ready for this? Alright, so everybody who's taught English in South Korea knows the meme of the midnight run. This is kind of like a running joke between all the English teachers here. Like, basically some teachers will just run away in the middle of the night, and it happens all the time. It happened at my company before, and it happens for a variety of reasons, right? Some people get here and then they're really just overwhelmed with society, the language barrier, the food, like everything like this, and then sometimes they can't take it, and they just they don't know how to say to their boss that they have to quit or whatever, so they just get a ticket and they just like leave, right? And then the next day at work, like they're not there, and then they've kind of disappeared. They just went back home most of the time. Sometimes it's just because people were overwhelmed, but a lot of times it's because the working conditions are very horrible and they're being taken advantage of, and they know that their visa is tied to the school like this. So a lot of times, sadly, people are left with no option than to just leave the country, flee the country essentially, because they're either being abused at their work or not paid at their work, or the working conditions are horrendous, they're working all the time, or their accommodation is insufficient like this. So I worked for a school, and one of my coworkers, she was a nice girl that I worked with, she ended up running away in the middle of the night. And this wasn't because the working conditions were so bad. The school was a fair school, right? It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was just very normal, very average. But she was suffering kind of depression and mental illness, not mental illness, but depression and some things like this. So that's another thing too. If you're coming to South Korea, understand that it's going to be, big pressure on you mentally and everything like this. So if you're suffering from depression or any underlying mental conditions, it might not be a good idea to come here, because it's going to be a lot of stress, a lot of pressure on you, and these conditions can be exacerbated. So a lot of people do suffer from depression, and they miss home and they miss their family, and then on top of that it can be compounded by horrendous working conditions, and people are forced to essentially just run away in the middle of the night. And this happens all the time. I guarantee you every single English teacher here knows a story about this, and it is the meme. It is a meme, and it is a running joke, and I guess sometimes it's sad, but anyways, yeah, these are the top 10 red flags to watch out for. So I hope this helped you out, and if you enjoyed, give me a thumbs up and keep watching.